Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As we already know, Acheron is one of the best DPS in the game. I know, you might not agree with me, but many people tested and she is really great and super worth to get. With the right setup, you can get Acheron's ultimate in almost every cycle, and each ultimate can shred the enemy's HP and toughness, even if they are not weak to lightning. The only thing holding her back from the first spot is the lack of support characters that fit her playstyle perfectly. Recent Grip Marketing gave us interesting information about the new character that will be appear in version 2.4, Jiaoqiu. Many people said that Jiaoqiu will the best support for Acheron, since he will inflict tons of debuff to the enemies. So in this video, let's talk everything about Jiaoqiu, starting from his kits, his light cons, and everything about him.
Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here is a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and honkaistarrail. Look no further than Loot Bar. Loot Bar is the most reliable top-up platform, saving 20% for all orders compared with the official channel, and an extra 5% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy a pack for 3000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have cost $50. Totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in less than 3 minutes. All recharge will be done through the official channel with miHoYo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount.
Jiaoqiu is a unit who is confirmed to be released in version 2.4. As the information we got from Grip Marketing, Jiaoqiu is described a Voxian healer from the Xianzhou Yaoqing and a counselor in honkaistarrail. He is skilled in the study of alchemical prescription that fuse food as medicine and will be part of the next storyline in honkaistarrail. Various information says that we will go back to the Xianzhou after the Penacony storyline, just like Genshin Impact, which keeps adding areas and activities in Liyue every year. His official description says he's treating General Fei Xiao, who is rumored to be a new boss and playable character in coming updates. Jiaoqiu is a fire-type character following the path of nihility. We know nothing about his story or even his past, as the Hoyo team hasn't even mentioned him in the story yet. But since in version 2.4 we are going back to Xianzhou arc, there is high possibility that he is somehow involved with something in Xianzhou. He also has a figure as strategist, so maybe he played an important part of the story. This is only my guess, so let's wait for more info. First, let's talk about his basic attack. Unlike any most of the character in honkaistarrail, his basic attack not only do a fire damage to a single target, it also has a base chance to apply one stack of flavor debuff to the target. As we know, this is unlikely to happen, since most of the characters only do some sort of basic damage and no effect at all. So I think this one is super good. Okay, next is his skill. This skill is quite good. Why? Because this skill is not only do a blast damage, but it can inflict a debuff as well. But from the description, the debuff probability is different each targets. The main target has higher base chance. I think as a nihility unit, this kind of skills is super nice. Okay, now let's talk about his ultimate. He will apply a special buff which called Aura to himself, lasting for some turn, but my guess is like 3 turns, and deals a fire damage to all targets. So his ult is an AoE, and his ult also has a base chance to apply one stack of flavor to the targets. After his ult, the flavor stack of all enemy targets will be set to the maximum number of stacks of flavor held by enemy targets. This effect ignores resistance. This kit is quite interesting for me. First, he has a special buff called Aura, which I will explain later in his talent. This skill will ignore resistance. It means Jiaoqiu doesn't need tons of effective rate to go on, so this will make easier for us to build him, especially for a new player. Now let's talk about his talent. His talent is quite long, so please pay attention, okay? Jiaoqiu has 3 passive abilities. First thing is flavor debuff, which will decrease his defense on the enemy. The difference between regular defense decrease and flavor is it can stacks. Also, it has upper limit, so it is pretty clear that flavor debuff is more superior than basic defense reduction. The more flavor stacks, the more defense reduction the enemy will get. Next is his special buff, which called Aura. During Aura, at the start of every ally's turn, this ally heals a percentage of their maximum HP plus a fixed amount of HP. After that, all enemies take increased ultimate damage. For me personally, this buff is insane, guys. Just imagine, with this buff, even character who follow a nihility path like Jiaoqiu can be a substitute healer, or we might say a sustain unit. If you have a Jiaoqiu in your team, then you likely don't need to put another sustain character, and you can maximize your room putting another harmony in your team composition. We might not see how much he can heal, but at least it's great, right? Also, the third one, when he's on the field, all enemies will be inflicted with unknown debuff. I assume he can inflict another debuff besides flavor, and as per this video is posted, it's still an unknown, so let's wait for more detailed information. Now we move on into his technique. His technique description is not completed yet, but as per description says, at least we know that he can create some sort of dimension, and if we entering battle with the enemies in the dimension, the enemy will get something, debuff I assume, so let's just skip it. And lastly, we will talk about his traces. The first trace, during Aura, at the start of any enemy's turn, Jiaoqiu deals additional fire damage to this target and has a base chance to apply 1 stack of flavor to this target. Okay, I think this trace is super nice and it's really good for Acheron. Just imagine, he can even give a debuff during the enemy turn. This means it will make Acheron ultimate stacks go even faster, so we might use Acheron's ult even on the enemy's turn. Pretty crazy, right? Next is his second trace. The second trace is quite simple, but still a nice thing to have. When he casts a skill, he will regenerate some extra energy. And lastly, his third trace, which I think also pretty good. Each of a new enemy enters the battle, he will inflict a certain number of flavor stacks to all enemies. For me personally, his third trace is as good as the first one, since he will pump Acheron's slash of dream stacks and make her do ultimate faster. Okay, now we move on into his eidolons. As per this video is posted, there are no detailed information about his eidolons, but some sources says that his eidolons will increase his healings during on his aura buff. The rest is still unknown. Okay, now let's talk about his light cons. I can't officially confirm that this one is 100% of his dedicated light cons, but since its effect fits pretty well with his kit, and some sources says that these light cons will come in version 2.4, then most likely this light cons is his dedicated light cons. Okay, as you can see, his light cons is really something. Every time the wearer attacks, he can inflicting a debuff called Fragile. This debuff can reduce the enemy defense for some turns. I guess it's for 2 turns at the most. And then if the enemy has Fragile, then there is a chance to upgrade it into Fragile 2, or maybe we can assume this stronger debuff than the previous one. Its description is quite fuzzy, but it definitely can be fit perfectly with Jiaoqiu's kit, since he will inflict 2 debuff per attack. Okay, now let's talk about is he still be useful on any other combinations beside Acheron. Most of people will go for him because of Acheron, but honestly, for my personal opinion, he is still quite useful as a single unit. Although we have not seen on his detailed kit yet, but pretty much he can put on any other team as well. For example, you can put him with a Delta Ratio, since Delta Ratio can get additional critical rate and critical damage based on the debuff of the enemy. On top of that, he also can heal his allies who fight alongside with him, so it makes us easier for us to pair him with anyone in the team. Although some information said that his heal is just too little for replacing a real healer though, but let's wait for more information. Just imagine that he is somehow like an upgraded version of Pilla. He can do a defense threats, do some heals, and his kits is really similar with her, but with better kits as overall. And next question is, how about Jiaoqiu compared with other nihility units? Okay, as per this video is posted, there are 9 nihility units in the game right now. Acheron, Black Swan, Kafka, Pilla, Silver Wolf, Lucas, Sampo, Green Ivan, and Well. And like we already know, not everyone in this list have the same role and have the most similar kits as with him, since every unit have their own thing. So I will pick a few among of them. First is Pilla and Silver Wolf. Pilla and Silver Wolf both offers fantastic damage amplifying debuffs for Acheron while being able to apply them every single turn. Pilla and Silver Wolf also can quickly access their ultimates, both of which also apply debuffs. When building either of them with high amounts of speed and energy recharge, they can provide Acheron with tremendous boosts and ultimate acceleration. Pilla with her AoE defense strat is Acheron's go-to support in most scenarios, with Silver Wolf still remaining strong but specializing more in a single target where she shines. Meanwhile, Green Ivan and World lack the universal appeal of this Silver Wolf and Pilla's tremendous damage boosts, but still provide steady debuff potential from each of their actions on top of strong utility. Welt has a reasonable accessible ultimate boosting his debuff potential, but also bolsters his teammates' survivability with his imprisons while also providing a bit of personal damage and boost from his bonus ability debuff. Green Ivan serves as accessible 4-star debuffer that sports decent personal damage, options to be played SP positive, and a reasonable damage amplification from her fire keys, making her a good stand-in when options are limited. All of these 4 units is somehow have a same role as Jiaoqiu, inflicts a debuff. Of course, they have some sorts of similarity with him, but as for Acheron's support, only Pilla and Silver Wolf is the top priority right now. So what is the difference about Jiaoqiu with other nihility units for Acheron? For me personally, I don't see the output will not much different, since Pilla and Silver Wolf also have a different reduction. Yes, flavor debuff is much better than basic defense reduction, but I think it's not that far. The big reason why Jiaoqiu is better than any other nihility unit first is how fast he can inflict a debuff. Jiaoqiu can inflict a debuff from almost of his kits, his basic attack, his skills, ultimate, talent, literally everything. He also can put a debuff to new enemies that entering the battle, so his speed of producing a debuff is not comparable to any other units right now. And for the second reason is he also can heal his allies who fight alongside with him. There is still a big question about how big the heal is he can replace the sustain unit or not. We already see Hoyoverse tends to change unit kits before the release, so there is a possibility that Jiaoqiu's kit get remodeled in the future as we see on Fireflies. Anyway, we have come a long way. Here is my thing about him. He can inflict a debuff using from almost of his kits. Yes, if you follow me from the start, his kits is all about inflicting a debuff, which is good, because every time he inflicts a debuff, Acheron will get a slash dream stacks. The faster he can inflict a debuff, the more slash dream stacks we get, the better output of damage, right? Next is his debuff flavor is superior than just basic defense reduction. His debuff flavor is a superior defense reduction that can stacks. So more stacks is more defense decrease the enemy will get. Of course, this will boost Acheron's output damage as overall. He also can do a heal through his talent and his ultimate, of course. As we already know, this is quite interesting and very unusual. A nihility unit who can do a healing that's never going to happen in RPG I have ever played before. Besides, if you put him in your team, then you won't need another sustain unit, and of course you can put like harmony unit instead. So even if your Acheron is only at E0, you still have a room for another support in your team. Also, he doesn't need tons of effect hit rate. I know effect hit rate is a pretty important stats in this game, especially for a unit who tend to use a debuff as the main kits like Jiaoqiu for the example. But since his kit already has an ignore resistant effect, it seems you won't need effect hit rate stat that much. It is great because a new player can use him immediately without needing a really proper gear. Okay guys, that's everything about Jiaoqiu, and what do you think? Do you wanna pull him later in version 2.4? Please leave your comment in the comment section below. Also don't forget to check out my another video. Thank you for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.